Okay. So today I'm having a conversation with my colleague, Olukokun Tolulope, who is a moderator of AfricaNEV, as well as the founder and CEO of ThinkElectricAfrica. So Olukokun.
Yeah, it's good to be here. It's good to get to you again,
So who is Olukokun Tolulope, and how did he get into this whole sustainability ecosystem?
Well, thank you. My name is Olukokun Tolulope, like you rightly said, and I have a background in automobile technology.
Okay.
Right from school, I've always had this notion for impact. I actually registered a company while I was still in school as far back as 2008, believing that I was very different automobile workshop. And right there in 2011, something happened in Nigeria that made me go a different path. And that is the fuel scarcity and the aftermath of protests of occupying Nigeria, that nobody could move anywhere. So I was running this little ICT company where I train people, do some software programming. I needed to get to my office and do my stuff, but it was difficult. So it was then I heard about Nissan Leaf, which was the first commercially, produced electric car, all electric car, zero emissions. So I picked up a call. I called Nissan office in Lagos. I was speaking to the, customer care representative who didn't understand what I was saying. He put up the manager. I cannot remember the name of the manager at the time. And the manager told me, yeah, we have the product, but it's not available for Nigeria. The technology is not meant for Nigeria and all of that. So I felt bad again, like, okay. I mean, what's technology? What if I ask you to import it for me? He said, well, they cannot do that. And what if I do it by myself, bring it in? He said they cannot support me because the infrastructure, everything I need to maintain the vehicle is not available. So I went into China market to see, and at that time we were having vehicles that could only travel.
You mean you went to China?
I went to research online.
Okay.
What vehicle I could need, because I was really desperate to go off petrol because of the situation, scarcity all the time. I didn't like that. But then I saw vehicles that are low cost,
Okay.
but only travel 20 to 40 kilometers max speed. I didn't want that. That looks like a tough car. So
okay.
I now research to know how else we could, make electric vehicle workable, usable, Nigeria, Africa, considering our current situation of electric power supply. Renewable energy was not so pronounced back then. So I was able to come up with some solution I patented. So that got me to this world, really. After studying more of the advantages and the impact, and how cheap we could actually get our mobilities if they are electrified. And, since then, I've been in that space, and that's how we met too.
Yeah. I remember that initial conversation clearly. But when you said that the Nissan people told you the Nissan Leaf was not designed for Africa. I don't understand.
Okay.
That statement.
Okay, so what the guy said majorly is that the technology of Nissan Leaf was not meant for Nigeria as a then. Africa generally, of course. Nigeria is the giant of Africa. I believe Stanley was not existing in any other African country as at that 2011. Of course, it was out newly. The battery technology was still very low, it wasn't advanced, and you might be needing more than 12 hours to get it fully charged. And here in Nigeria, we don't even have 2 hours of power supply, you know. So then he complained of the technicians that will manage and maintain the vehicle, that they don't have it at hand, and to bring them out from outside the country will be too. Everything he explained was more. As at then, we would agree with this.
Okay.
I mean, we don't have any backup. So, I couldn't argue much because there was sense in what he was saying, and we couldn't change it that. But now, I mean, things have really evolved. So that basically that's it.
So what has changed between then and now? Because Nigeria still has acute power shortage. I know that more than 40% of the population is not covered by your grid. And there's a huge shortfall between what you need and what you produce. I think you need like 21 gigawatts or so, and you currently produce around 4 gigawatts of electricity. So, what do you mean that things have changed?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a very power expert. I'm not into power. I'm more into mechanics and the like. But then the numbers you just quoted are quite right. And if you will ask me what has changed, I will tell you renewable energy has changed. I will tell you battery technology has really changed. That advanced so much that we can store energy and get the energy density is quite encouraging right now. Uh, I mean, it's not the days of alkaline battery, the lead acid. We now have lithium
Okay.
that is doing very well. Another coming up. So that's what has really changed. And what has really changed again is the price drop, probably because of demand and because of the world focus on mitigating climate change and all of that.
Yeah.
Demand made driving the price. I mean, so that has really changed. Nigeria has embraced renewable energy. We are now having it in massive scale. That's not cut across though. But I mean, there are a lot of people in that space now. I even met someone that is planning to erect a solar, a solar panel company, manufacturing company in Nigeria here. We've been talking on LinkedIn for a while. So generally, that has really changed and has encouraged mobility. That's encouraged what I love, what I do, and all of that. So that's what has really changed.
So after you had this conversation with these people, the Nigerian people. Anyway, I was asking that because recently we had some test rides in a Nissan Leaf, and it's a 2012 or 2013 Nissan Leaf, which is basically the car they were telling you at the time is not meant for Africa. I hope you get what I'm saying. So, with the benefit of hindsight on my part, but I get the feeling that the gentleman just wanted to discourage you from buying the car because most likely they didn't have it in stock or something. Anyway, so after this conversation with this gentleman and doing your research, what was the next step? What did you do?
Well, because I'm also constrained financially, and there's nothing at that time that makes sense to anybody in that space. Like, okay, you have this notion of making electrical work in Nigeria. I mean, even till date, some people still laugh at you and say, I mean, of
You are
course,
joking.
we've seen a lot of interviews. I mean, we've seen people saying that, I mean, this Nigeria is an oil producing country, electric vehicle cannot survive. and all of that. So I went into my own research quietly. I spent quite a number of years putting things together, any resources I could get, trying things on paper, backing it up with some physics laws to making sure this works. So after testing each of the modules independently, like everything that works independently right now and my modifications, I was able to go present it to the trademark and patent office, did some practical, and I was able to get it filed for a patent. I mean, that's the level at which I am right now. I'm trying to get some resources together to actually get this product for proper design and production so we could test. I believe the success of this uh, um, development or product will help electric mobility a lot, especially in Africa.
Why?
The part that number one, this design is meant to reduce the size of battery. And when you have a little battery and you can still have a long range, it means the cost of production is already impacted on. It means you have, a cheaper vehicle to buy. Now, again, if you have a vehicle without much battery that can still perform a long range, it means the vehicle will be less heavy. And when it's less heavy, the efficiency becomes higher. I believe what I hold is the master key to what Africa really needs to embrace e-mobility a lot. I need support from anywhere. I've been talking to certain people, but most of them looks like yes that want to swallow you up. If it works, they want to take it away from you. If it doesn't, they want you to bear the cost. And that is not what I need right now. And that's the.
How does that work? As in, you're the third parties you're talking to, they want all the returns and none of the risk. I don't understand how that's.
I applied for a particular grant for this development in UK, and it piqued someone's interest, and we got talking, exchanging mails, and he wanted me to tell him practically the principles of how this works without signing any document. He was just promising me that he has friends in that space and that he could talk to. That if he understands how it works, he'll be able to talk to them, and if they agree, they will ask me to come over. And I was like, that doesn't sound like a good plan to me. If I've committed 3-4 years of my life to this, and I'll just put it on your table on a platter of food like that it's better we sign some agreements. I mean, I have so many correspondences. So when I talked to some of my own mentors too, they told me not to do it, that the person doesn't look serious. So
It sounds like a idea mining. Basically, the person will mine your idea and then that is it for their own purposes.
Profit right now, this is not about making the money right now, but this is about trying to get the solution working and into the market, because it's a game changer. I know developed world will not think about the solution. You know why? We have that electricity. The only thing they can think of right now is to store that energy in the battery, use it for whatever they want to use it for. But in Nigeria, in Africa, we have to think about how to produce the energy first before we can now store it and start using it we want to use it for. So that's a major difference there.
When it comes to energy, we know that we've done some research on this topic. Let me share that. There now. Okay. So, can you see? So, you see that. Anyway, for those of you listening, this is for 23 African countries with a total population of 1 billion people, and 400 million of them, basically around 40%, don't have access to electricity. Now, what you see here is that Nigeria and other West African and East African and Central African countries have electricity access problem. How we get what I'm saying? But if you look at the north of Africa, the Egypts, the Moroccos, and co, they don't have an issue.
Yeah.
So I also want to put that across that when we talk about Africa's energy access problem, it is not something that is uniform, depending on the country you are in. Like Ghana, for example, we have 84% penetration. The people who don't have access are just those in the hinterlands and maybe island communities and sparsely populated hamlets. But Nigeria, for example, is not so.
You see, in as much as we cannot generalize, we still have to go back to this, the majority carrying the vote.
Okay.
Because the major part of Africa still do not have that adequate access to energy. And Africa has been described as the world headquarters of the poorest energy access continent. So, I mean, we cannot say in one of my articles that I published on LinkedIn, I always express these exceptions with the exception of some countries.
Okay.
We cannot generalize, but then because quite a large part of Africa still do not have at least
That's
50
that one.
to 80%.
Well, anyway, that is more prevalent in the villages. Because if you look at even the countries with high penetration, you see that the villages have more people not having access to energy compared to
The
those
rural
in
setting generally.
excuse me. Anyway, so this your invention. What is your plan to bring it to market before we proceed to other things?
In so many opportunities, I mean, forum, I always shy away from the word invention.
Okay.
What I did is I innovated, and I believe that is what gave me the chance to have a patent. There was nothing that I put together that I created myself.
Okay. So is existing system that you have integrated?
Most of them are existing systems used in different ways. There are now such relation in which they can come together as a subsystem and work for what we want. With the exception of few circuit programs, I mean circuit design, that we added to make them work seamlessly. So I mean that's just basically it. So well, to bring it to market, I was in talk with someone recently, and we're looking at the possibility. Being in academics as well, I have access to some funding which we are trying to explore. But you see, I do not want a local design because I believe design is part of every solution, especially in the technology space. So we're still going to bring some, talents that will help us package it in such a way that it will be very intuitive for the purpose we want it for. So we are planning to get some funding to work on the program. By the time we have at least the version 1, version 2, are able to do all the testing and optimization and is certified for the mass market. Then we either give it out as license it to companies, or if there is enough money, we could start a production line ourselves.
So does that mean that you are looking to supply parts, as in supply components? Your component, you produce it and supply it to vehicle manufacturers, or you want to build your own vehicles from the ground up? So what is the strategy?
There are 3 strategies here right now. The number 1 is that, okay, we have this product is already working, and these are the principles. Let us license a company, and we take royalty. Basically, we have nothing to do with it. We just license the company, and they start producing, making use of it the way they want. So why we just take royalty? The second one is, okay, we have the solution, and we can just start producing for companies based on their specification. Okay, this will reduce the amount of battery you put in your vehicle, and you still get a longer range than the battery can even take you. And that's another part.
So what you are saying is that if I'm using, let's say, 50 kilowatt battery, and I'm able to go 100, let's say 200 kilometers, with your technology, can I double it, or what? Or what's the improvement?
With this technology that I call onboard power generating system, if your car is designed for, is it 50 kilowatts, you said?
Yes, and for 200 kilometers, 50 kilowatts hours, that can go 200 kilometers.
On paper, it will reduce that size of battery to like 50%. So you have like 25% that will be split into the 2 parts. So one will be for storage, one will be for usage. So, and they'll be changing in between. Now, with that, if with your original 200 kilometer, then you can have it for 500 kilometer and above.
So more than, let's say, 2.5 times the original range.
About 3x. Because 3x. Number 1, you already the size. About 3-4x. I said, number 1, you already reduced the size of the battery to accommodate the system. Then you have more than 100% of the range you already have.
Okay. So, assuming that we maintain the original size. Yes, we maintain the original size, the original 50 kilowatts, but we are still using your system. I can't hear you, please.
I said, all things being equal, we can have it more than 1,000 kilometers.
Okay. I get it. So, and this has been proven.
Proving with our calculations and mathematics and with the patent backup. But practically on the field, no. We need to develop it fully, make it well functional, put it in a vehicle, and get our numbers right. So we have to really really do an extensive development. The research has been done, not concluded. I mean, it's not conclusive, like it's final, because once you develop, you will have traits. You will want to optimize. You get it? So that's the phase we are right now. And our projections are what I just told you. I mean, while explaining it and exploring all the calculations with another mentor who is a professor in engineering, he was optimistic that it could go limitless. But then
That sounds
we
too
don't
good to be true.
want to go through that route right now. We just want to focus on numbers, what is possible, and all of that. Because this is a system, is an hybrid of many systems, you know. It incorporates solar panel, it incorporates other means of generating electricity, harmonize them together and start doing the storage and the generation generally.
It sounds complicated.
So, very complicated, you know, but then it's all well thought out. That's why I said there are individual systems that are already working together. I mean, working individually, that has been brought together to work in and to give us the result we want, especially for mobility.
When you have more complexity in a system, that means that you have more points of failures or potential failures.
In as much as that is true, can we say that of the automobile we have today that contains thousands of parts? I mean, the engine, what you can tell, what we can say is that, okay, you have, reliability issue, yeah, fine, but then the parts, the components are not so much. The components are just about 7.
Oh, okay. Seven. Okay. 7 is okay.
Next together. But then because the aim is to generate electricity, you get, so we incorporate it with other form of electricity generation, like solar panel generate electricity, right? So it's good to work with solar panel and other forms of energy generation.
Okay. And then you said that your test strategy was what? The first one was to license. The second one was to.
Okay, the third will be to have our own production line locally. I mean, we have Innocent that is doing very well in Nigeria, Innocent vehicle manufacturing. I mean, we could partner with such and start rolling out our own fleets of cars. Okay. So, African continent. But then, if all our numbers are correct, even developed world that already having their electric vehicle, they want to have such system. If we are able to prove the reliability and the efficiency generally.
I think that the licensing way seems to be the best in terms of achieving scale, because the global automobile producers already have the skill there. They get it. So you license to them, they use it for their production systems. You get returns faster. I mean, it's simpler, easier, and gives you less headache. But that is me.
But then Africa will still have some issues when it comes to cost of procurement, because majorly most of this production will be done outside the shores of Africa, and we still have to import. Okay. And in Nigeria, importation duty is even higher than the cost of vehicles sometimes. So all of those things are factors whereby people cannot afford brand new brand new vehicles in the country. And when we have a solution that will really make electric vehicle cheaper for them, and we still have it, made outside, we have not solved our problems locally.
Okay. So, what is ThinkElectricAfrica? What is ThinkElectricAfrica?
Okay, so after all these successes in research and waiting for development, I was in this world of making or fast tracking the usage of e-mobility, renewable energy in Africa, starting with Nigeria, of course, where I come from. So I launched or founded the organization with the sole mission of accelerating Africa's transitioning to renewable energy and sustainable transport. Because I've gone through many of these works and research, we discovered that it's the cheapest for Africa to adopt. But the adoption is nothing to write home about right now, So, I mean, in Nigeria as a whole, we can count the number of e-mobility and renewable energy projects we already have. Okay. So, ThinkElectricAfrica is supposed to be, involved in practical research, education, advocacy, and banking on indigenous technology to get all these solutions to our people. That is why we have ThinkElectricAfrica. And then I'm of the opinion that if Nigeria could look inward and sell electricity, we could make a lot of money, probably even more than oil and gas.
Why?
Because practically everything, okay, we have a population of 1 million. And it's not everything we do, locally. I'm not talking about selling outside. Local market right now. It's not everything everybody does here in the country that involves oil and gas. But hardly is there anything you do that does not involve electricity. Even in the rural settlements that we are talking about, they hold cell phones. They hold cell phones, might not be a smart one, but they still need to power those cell phones. They need to charge them. So one way or the other, putting electricity and selling it locally will make us more money than oil and gas.
I see. So as an oil economy, because I think what is it 70 or 80% of your economy or your FS is from oil. How does this vision sit with your policy space? Are your policymakers they're laughing? Are your policymakers I don't know, going with this flow? What about the market itself? Citizens of your country, how do they perceive all these e-mobility, renewable energy systems?
Okay, well, this is a compound question you just asked. Starting from
It is.
Starting from the policy makers.
Yeah.
Most of them are educated and think towards this point. That's why we are encouraging younger generation to get involved in politics so we can make decisions that will be very good for our people. You see, the general market is not aware of anything. That's why someone said, if you ask people what they want, they may even ask for a faster horse without knowing that automobile could do a better job, So the general market doesn't know what they really want, except to make it available to them. And they can now see, okay, this is better than this. But if there's no resources to make it available, they still make do with what they have, and they will think it's the best. So our policymakers are not getting it right. I know Senator Ben Bruce at the 8th Assembly did his bit on policies, but I believe the bill was not captured in the right way, so it was rejected. The bill was speaking about banning what we know to be the best solution. right now. And what, like you said, Nigeria, the transportation takes about 40%, 39.9% or so. That's about 40% of the whole sector. Do you get? So if you ban petrol vehicles and all of that, the people feel like the economy may crumble because this is our pot of soup. So the policymakers to say that electric vehicle e-mobility generally should be discouraged in Nigeria. They said that. So, but then people raised eyebrow, knowing fully well that we are not independent with any technology. Most technology we use in the country are not ours. We are majorly a consuming nation. So if the Western world are changing their means of mobility, then we that is depending on them have no choice except we'll become a dumping ground and most of our assets may be stranded. There was a report I was looking at this afternoon about China being one of our major importers of oil, and because of the epidemic.
China and India, I think.
Because of the epidemic, things have really slowed down big time. CNN is reporting it as the highest oil demand, lowest oil demand, something. I can't remember the caption properly, but there has been no demand so far. So take a look, because this epidemic is really telling us a story we can follow. Yeah. If this continues for long, it will affect all businesses, this virus of a thing, across board. So let us look at it this way, that if China suddenly changes or India suddenly changes to e-mobility, they have no demand for e-mobility, renewable energy generally, and they have no demand for oil. What happens to Nigeria and some other African nations? Oil producers.
You mean that even if you continue using the petrol and diesel cars, because their major consumers are shifting into these electric cars, they will still be affected. Is that it?
Yes. And majorly, you see, what we consume, out of what we produce, we only consume about 20% or 25% locally. So it's not that the local market is what is giving us the IGR, really. It's not the local market. It's this international importers that are really, or exporters that are really taking our product. So in the long run, we'll see that it is better we plan for it right now and start working towards it so it will remain. And this is the time to take a lesson from Norway. I think Norway produced well above 1% of the world's oil demand, and they are the first nation to have $1 trillion cash in excess.
That's sovereign wealth fund.
And they are the first nation that is selling internal combustion engine vehicles right now, because right there in April 2019, they sold above the normal conventional gasoline vehicle. So we need to start bringing in this expert. We need to start dialoguing with them on, we as an oil producing nation, how we could easily diversify the economy into what we think what the world is projecting and moving towards. So, but this is Africa. The ego is there, the pride is there, and until we get to the last bus stop or in front of no return before we start making things right. And Africans are generally opportunists. Other people will make money on this, and until the country literally start boiling before we start looking for solutions. And mind you, Nigeria signed the Paris Agreement to
Read
reduce carbon
climate agree, the Paris climate.
Reduce in 2017 thereabout. I think they signed in 2017 to reduce carbon emission. It's called nationally determined commitment, NDC.
Yes, NDC, yeah.
And unconditionally with the help of others by 45%. And according to statistics, Nigerian transportation sector contributes 39 and above, 29.5% of carbon emission. That's 1/3 of other transportation sector alone. More than 1/3 sell. So this is really a place to make impact. If you really want to reduce carbon emission, transportation sector is the first sector you look into where you can have major impact and impact. And this will boost the economy at the same time because apart from the cost of procurement, the cost of first purchase, maintenance, and all of that is the cheapest so far.
You said that Senator Ben Bruce's bill was rejected because it was not positioned properly. I want you to unpack that a bit because I did watch, I think, a YouTube clip where he was talking about his bill and all that. It made sense to me. As I'm talking to you now, or as we're having this discussion, the government of Ghana is in the process of, through our parliament, they're working on a bill that will ban vehicles that are more than 10 years old. Let me share another diagram. Let me see. I hope I can find it. You see, the government of Ghana is in the process of banning vehicles that are more than 10 years old, okay, from being imported into the country. And I think that that is a step in the right direction. Okay.
Definitely.
Can you see now?
Yes.
Good. You see, this diagram is explaining something. The one on the left, I'm sure you can see my pointer. So you see all the gray areas are where they have banned the use of the importation of used vehicles. Then you see that majority of African countries, we have this progressive taxation system where maybe if the older the car is, the more you have to pay in duties. You know, also
applicable in Ghana. That's what I'm telling you. I know I mentioned it in fact.
It's actually applicable in Ghana. Because Ghana, for example, you can see. So this is a UN environmental agency. You see, they've classified the various countries. So gray means banned. Red means what? Weak. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Weak. So you see,
fair.
And then fair is, so countries like Nigeria. Then strong. Okay. What you see is that the places that are banned outright the use of imported vehicles, they don't have any use. They don't allow used vehicles to be imported for use in their country. But then places like Ghana, for example, what we do is in Nigeria. So we say that, okay, if the car is more than 5 years, we have to pay extra a set tax. If it's 10 years, you have to pay more. So we call it overage taxes. And the reasoning behind that is that the older the car, the more inefficient the car, which means that the more it pollutes. Is that also?
Okay. Like I told you, we've been trying to talk to the government about it, but they are still not accepting. That is not applicable in Nigeria. The newer your car is in Nigeria, the newer your car is, they are bringing it 2005, 2010, 2019, 2020. You are paying way higher than bringing in 2099 and all of that. You get what I'm saying?
So it is more expensive to bring a new car than to bring a used one.
More in duty. if you are bringing in a new car. That is why a lot of people.
But that policy that doesn't make sense.
It has never made any sense. That is why Ghana is moving towards, sustainability and all of this. And I was watching a video clip where your government is talking about cutting tax across all sectors to encourage production. I mean, that's why you were doing that. Nigeria was increasing tax, even banking and all of that. All our transactions from 5% has jumped to 7.5%. The economy is not improving. And on this immobility or sustainability, making transportation very sane and all of that, if you bring in a 2019 vehicle, you will pay more than bringing in 2005 vehicle in tax and custom duty.
Wait. I think the brand new cars, even in Ghana, I think the tax is more than used ones. What I was talking about was that if you are bringing a used car, the older the used car, the more you have to.
Used vehicle,
Uh-huh.
used car,
Yeah.
used.
Yes.
Importing used cars. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
That's what's sustainable in Nigeria. Now, if you are buying new car, it's hard for you to import a new car by yourself. I mean, like, I want to buy a brand new car and I want to import it. Quite little people. It's not a mass market thing because we have vendors, licensed vendors or dealers that are into that, Oscaris and the likes of them. I've forgotten many names. We have a lot of them, They must have paid for their duty in bulk. So all you just do is buy brand new without paying any more duty. I mean, we have quite, if you want to buy, except for the rare models like Bugatti, like Rolls Royce and all of that. But then, selling in Nigeria, really, you get. So, for you to buy a brand new car, except it's a rare version, you rarely go outside of the country to import a brand new car by yourself. But if you do, you still pay quite enormously. But then, I'm talking about used cars because a lot of Nigerians, more than 80% of Nigerians cannot afford a brand new car. So they rely on importing themselves. And so if you buy a car for $300.
Wait, you said $300?
Of course, there are cars for $300, $500. From there,
you're talking about these accident cars, right?
Use what?
Are you talking about these accident cars for $300?
No, accidented car. There are some other cars that are 2000, 2001 that are $300, $500. Less than $1,000
really?
Anyway.
Okay.
Of course, on auto export and all of these car auction sites, you see them. So then you put it on a ship. Before you get to the ship, probably you are paying $2,000 for that.
Yes.
All these ports and all this stuff. By the time it gets to Nigeria, you might have to pay like $1,500 to clear it.
Okay.
With all other services and all of that. So now, by the time you get all of this done, it's impacted on the cost of a vehicle, and a vehicle that started at $500 is ending up to be $5,000, $4,500. So this really does not make sense. So now, if they want to encourage better mobility in the country, because we believe that the newer the car, the more efficient, the more, I mean, talking about emissions right now, you will have to reverse that policy by saying, okay, the latest car you bring in, you pay lower, used car right now. If you are bringing in a very old car, you will pay the highest. Everybody will be encouraged to bring in latest cars, latest vehicles. So, but then, So I was talking to someone, they said it's because of the pride of our policymakers and leaders. They don't want you to use the kind of vehicle they are using. So they put more import duty, higher import duty on latest vehicles and all of that. Well, that's to the person, if that is enough as a reason.
I think that this is a very untenable reason, if true. So I would discount it. Maybe the person just making a statement, but
Yeah,
I
he's just
mean,
making it. Because he really does not believe in the leaders anymore. He feels that their ego, what they are, working
oh,
on.
so it's
Because
a frustrated person.
so it means, like, I mean, a country like Nigeria should look at what is working in other African countries, compare with what is working in developed countries, and make reasonable policies. I saw a video where the president of Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria said they were protesting because in every country and in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, there are many countries make policies and waive import duties on renewable energy materials like batteries, solar panels, and all of that. But no, in Nigeria, they are still putting about 5% or so on them. I can't remember the amount of whatever the percentage of the um, tax they are putting on renewable energy. But what we are saying is that if you want to really encourage renewable energy, you have to make policies around it. Now, going back to Senator Bruce's bill, it was captioned, which was the main thing that was projected in the media, that by 2030 or 2035 thereabout, we should ban all gasoline vehicles in the country. It does not look palatable to people. But when I watched the video where he explained every part of the bill and mentioned the renewable energy part and all of that, then it made sense. It made sense. But the part that says ban it shouldn't have been mentioned. If his bill was to encourage electric vehicle in the country or e-mobility, the bill should have spoken more or emphasized more on other things rather than banning petrol vehicles. Yes, we all know where the world is going to. We all know all of that. But then this is a sensitive matter. You are touching the pot of soup of these people. Quite a number of them have oil blocks. And you are saying they should be out of business. So they won't accept that. So
I think that uh, the some of the things we are saying, I agree with, but I also feel that some of the issues you are making reference to, they miss the point altogether. You know, because I can show you when we talk about the oil industry and the automobile in general, we know that uh, for oils produced, a large chunk of it goes into the transportation sector. I think about 50% or so of all oil. The world uses around 100 million barrels or so. Okay, the major consuming nations or countries or continent, whatever you want to call them, in terms of transport, road transport, is China, Europe, and America. China is 30% of the automobile market, Europe 22%, and America 70%. Now, these are the very people who are going fully electric for one reason or the other. Okay? The Chinese, they are aggressive because they feel that, hey, like I was talking to Professor Wills yesterday, they see it as an opportunity to dominate the automotive space. Okay, to stake their claim. The Europeans, they are thinking more of Dieselgate, they are thinking more of pollution and whatnot. The Americans, hey, Trump is doing and saying his own thing, but Charlie, Elon Musk is not giving anybody briefing space. So everybody is scrambling. That is the first point. Okay? So if these people go electric, what we have learned from 2015 is that if the price of, the oil market is oversupplied by just 2%, prices of oil will crash.
Yeah.
And you saw what happened in Nigeria.
Yeah.
That was just Saudi Arabia dumping excess oil on the market. This one, we're talking about demand destruction. I think the demand is evaporating because people are finding alternative uses for the for energy.
Yeah.
And number two, the equipment that people are using are also becoming more and more efficient. So even if Nigeria maintains a status quo, or Ghana maintains a status quo, or South Africa, Congo, Kenya, wherever, because we represent such a small chunk of the market,
Yeah.
and this is a global market, we are going to be affected anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
I feel that when I listen to some of these points, and I'm not saying that what we are saying is not true. It is one huge chunk of the discussion that people are not looking at and people are not thinking about.
I couldn't agree more, but the part that I'm emphasizing is our local demand and local consumption.
Okay.
So, I mean, on a global scale, we represent just less than 1%.
Actually, 1%,
right?
Actually, 1%. 1%. I have the
so
you know,
with that, we are. Every decision is not made by us. I mean, we just follow.
And we don't produce too. We don't produce at any appreciable scale.
It's non-negotiable. That is what it is. But locally,
okay,
we need to encourage production. We need to encourage innovation. We need to develop technology. That is when we can say we will hold certain percentage of the economy when it comes to e-mobility. Now, if you are not encouraging citizens, of course, policy drives everything. Like you rightly said, Trump may be saying whatever he's saying, but then there are policies on ground that encourages, this stuff. Do you get? So, I mean, the sector will continue to thrive in America, in Europe. And I wanted to say part of China's decision is to also, because of the pollution that is so vivid in their country. I mean, China is number one. China is number one carbon emitter in the world. So they have no choice. That's what they are. And they are doing it at a massive scale that they still maintain the economic dominance they once maintained while in this oil and gas era. Do you get it? So I believe what you're saying is right, and that's what it is.
But the other side is, maybe let me ask it this way. This is the graph we're talking about. Let me show it. When do you think? Okay, this is one of the questions that. Can you see?
It's coming up.
Good. So you can see Africa. Of course, this is 2017. The market has contracted globally now, but see, Africa is 1%.
Yeah.
What can we do? And you see, the other side is like I was talking to Professor I was mentioning about him a lot. Professor Wills was saying yesterday that disruption is not linear; it is exponential. It seems that our people are thinking I mean, you also have the same thing that when you ask them, so when will EVs reach mass adoption in Africa? People are thinking 2030, about 2040, even 2050 even. But what people are not taking into consideration is the fact that because of cost reductions, very soon, these electric vehicles are going to be far cheaper are going to be cheaper than their petrol counterparts. It's a matter of time. I'm sure that the Tesla battery investor will hear fantastic things. I mean, if they're able to announce an 80 kilowatt hour battery, it's game over. I don't know whether they will. I don't think so.
Right?
Maybe. Is it?
I said with 1 million miles.
Yeah. I think 1 million miles, they will get it. I'm expecting maybe they will say 90 or 100. Because, Elon Musk said they will reach 100, was it 2018? 2020. So I'm expecting that maybe they will say 90 kilowatt hour, especially considering the Maxwell technology thing. Okay. So I mean I don't get it. I don't get why people are not taking their time to actually review the information out there and come to an informed conclusion.
But when you said people, who do you mean?
I'm talking about businesses and then also policymakers, because it's a bit like what is happening in the automotive space now. You see that the car industry were dismissive of Tesla for a long time. So, those guys is not going to work. It's a flash in the pan. I can show you a report where an automobile industry report that I have, was it 2018, and I think some executive from BMW and some other companies were talking about their outlook on the car industry. Where they expected EVs to be is nowhere near where EVs are today. And they themselves, how they saw their business, is not how their business is today, because today, everybody is scrambling to electrify their vehicles.
And to have a market share in the electric vehicle industry.
Sure. Because in China, if you are serious about cars and you're a car manufacturer, you have to be in China. In China now, it is not possible to sell cars if a certain percentage of it is not electrified. That is the government policy. So you are out. Europe, they have this emission per mile. And it is clear that if you don't have some form of electric vehicles in your fleet, you cannot meet those emission targets. So you must be electrified.
Yeah. And one thing about China again is, according to the documentary I saw, is that you bought a car does not mean you are licensed to drive it.
Oh, yes. In fact, first of all, you have to enter a lottery.
Yes. So you buy a car, you have to even keep it at home before you get a license. You'll be praying to God to get a license.
But I see, for the EVs, it's not the same. The EVs, I think the EVs is far easier.
Even for EV, they want to be sure of everything. You get it? So, I mean, so that's why they are called developed world anyway. Africa is quite different. We have people that doesn't even know what they are doing being a policymaker. They cannot project. They cannot read data. They cannot bring out any reasonable stuff.
Are you sure it's not? Are you sure it's not a function? It's not a function of self-interest, because some of the people that you are making reference to, I believe that they know exactly what is possible, but maybe because of vested interest, they are doing otherwise. Of course, some are also, I mean, just unaware of what is going on.
But that would be grievous if you are unaware of what is going on around you in the world right now. That is ignorance is no excuse anyway.
I think maybe we ought to do some videos about that, because if you walk to the average intellectual and you ask the person, okay, are you aware of electric cars? You may get an answer. You may get will be yes or no. The probability is 50-50. And even somebody who will tell you yes, if you ask him how long will it take, most people will tell you 10 years or more. You see, I think also that people like you and me, we are living and breathing this thing every day. We are following every nuance. I mean, we are engaged. We are not representative of the average African intellectual at all when it comes to this space. So we cannot use ourselves as good reference points.
At all.
We can only use them as a good reference point. And there is something.
Yeah, you see, this is why I believe we need a concerted effort to start getting projects done. The reason why I was trying to reach Senator Ben Bruce, that if you have the resources, it's better to show people than to tell people. So experience always counts in things rather than, because in Africa, we learn by what we see. We learn by what we see a lot. So, I mean, we cannot use ourselves. I mean, by the time you start asking people about electric vehicles, things you'll be getting from even the airlines, you'll be surprised. You might feel disgusted at some point, you know? So it's really a daunting task right now, especially if you don't have any resources to follow it through. That's what I think. That's what I think right now.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. Assuming I have a white magic wand, and when I wave it, you are the person in charge of transportation policy for Nigeria. What will be your 3 policy initiatives, and what will be the direction and the reasoning behind those policy initiatives?
Okay, my number one policy.
But focus on road transport. Let's talk about road transport.
My number one policy is to bring in vehicle manufacturers and I mean, to encourage them, to entice them, to show them the statistics of the market here, and work in such a way, you know, the policy will be in such a way that it will encourage production, local production, and they'll be able to give those vehicles out to citizens at a very, you know, lengthy, like they do it in their countries, mortgage, kind of, whereby you could pay over a lengthy period of time to own a vehicle. Now, that will now be in form of maybe an hybrid system as well as a full electric vehicle. So in subsequent years, we'll have to reduce the number of importations of used vehicles.
How?
Of course, by the time I've made provisions for brand new vehicles and you are getting it at working with the banks and everything, getting a subsidy, a subsidized amount of money through the government and all of that, you'll be encouraged to own a brand new car. So we have to make a policy to discourage importation of used vehicles. You get what I'm saying?
Okay. So how is that different from Senator Ben Bruce's plan?
I'm not saying it's different. I'm not saying I'm going to do something that is quite different from what he's doing. But what I'm going to do is how the little difference is that we want to encourage local production without necessarily straining the existing ones we have.
Okay. That is treading a fine line.
You get it. You know, if you do not give an alternative, why ban the existing ones you have? I mean, the fear of saying they will ban this alone is enough for the whole project to collapse. Do you get that? So why even mentioning? Who mentioned banning horses before people started riding in vehicles? Who banned bicycles? Who banned horses? Who banned all the animals?
Always
So
I try to say
things
that
will
banning is
go
unnecessary.
naturally. They will die a natural death.
Oh
I believe
yes, oh yes. Because nobody will be producing these cars anymore. In the next 5 years, nobody will be producing these cars anymore.
naturally, right?
Yeah, and I.
When I
Hello?
say I will encourage importation of used vehicles,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about banning, because no matter how you see, certain percentage of the population will still not be able to afford whatever you are bringing on board.
Okay.
So they will still want to relax or rely on their existing solution, which is the gasoline vehicle. Now, the only thing you can now do is not to license them for roadworthiness. Okay, from year 1999, you'll be surprised that we still have 1980 vehicles on our road in Nigeria.
Oh, of course. I mean, some of these cars that you have to put a starter in the snout of the car and wind. I remember seeing some growing up. Well, I've not seen any recently, so I cannot say that. But as a kid, I used to see some.
Artifact or something. This is like a car collection. Such an interesting way. I'm talking about vehicles of 1980s, all these Toyota Hiace buses, all these
That's
old vehicles flying roads and being used for mass transportation in the country, which is killing. Any impact on those vehicles in form of accident, it transfers the whole impact on the passenger. You have different casualties because the bodies are already inhabited and a lot. So you begin to clamp down on those ones and say between so year and so year, you can never get a roadworthiness permit again.
so what you're talking about is not a ban on importation, but a ban on certification or licensing for roadworthiness. Is that it?
Two things. Once you have production in place,
okay,
and the production is satisfying the population, you have put all the subsidies, all the rebates and all of that in position. You have liaised with a lot of banks to give people that are credit worthy brand new vehicles while they pay in 5-10 years.
Okay.
There are some housing in the country right now whereby you pay for 20 years. You pay for 30 years. So, and you start living in that house, you own that vehicle, and you have a commitment.
That's a mortgage system.
The mortgage system, yes. So once you put your mortgage system in place for all these brand new vehicles, you can now start. The first thing you work on is importation of used vehicles.
Okay.
Listen to me. Because you want to encourage local patronage, you want people to encourage your local production. You don't want the manufacturers or the investors to run out of the country saying the business is not viable or they are not making sales and all of that. So you want to clamp down on all the loopholes that will make them lose money, and that is banning importation of used vehicles. You can still bring in brand new vehicles. Why not?
But you're ignoring the fact that our borders are very porous in Africa.
Of course, but to a large extent, Nigeria was able to ban importation of vehicles through land borders.
Okay. Yeah. So the numbers will reduce drastically. Maybe you can pick up 80%.
So, I mean, this is what has been practical. Even on rice importation, which is the highest consuming food in Nigeria, they've been able to do quite well on that, though it has inflated the prices of the ones we have in the country. So that's what you work on. After that, the effect of that is already pushing by inflow of brand new vehicles and people are considering that, we now start clamping down on the rickety and old vehicles from probably 1980 to 1990. You relax a bit, see the impact, work on it again from 1990 to 2000, relax until the whole system is well saturated. Do you get it? So those will be my policies generally when it comes to land transportation and automobile policy generally. I've been on the NADDC, is it Nigeria or National Automotive Development Council. I've seen what they said they want to do, encouraging researches. But many things are politicized in the country. It's not everybody that have access to the fund. It's not a level playing ground for everyone. So, and I saw that they said they want to reform the automobile policy or automotive policy that was enacted that was developed in 2011 thereabout during President Goodluck Jonathan era. So we are still watching the space. If they call on us, if they say we need innovators, we need people from the society, submit your social proposal, let us come into a conference and have a discussion. Of course, we have things to put on their table. But in this country, if you are so zealous and you put documents on anybody's table, it will end up in trash. Of course, because I've seen a lot of that. So we are looking at a situation whereby like minds will be on the same table and we're able to, not for personal gains, not for personal interest, but for the general interest, for the good of everyone. These things cannot continue to be like this. When you encourage old vehicles and discourage brand new ones or latest ones, even used ones, that is why a lot of people go for accidented cars and they start repairing it locally. Now, what that tells me is that because even when they are done with these repairs, you see the vehicle as if nothing happened to it, except some minor functions that may be affected that could do with sensors that they could not bring in or all of that. So you begin to say, we really have the artisans, we really have the labor, everything we need to do to start producing our own vehicles. And innocent vehicle manufacturing is a testimony. These guys have done really well in that space. And I can tell you that it's even hard for Nigeria to patronize him.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know for any reason at all. I don't know. Maybe because
is it a perception issue? Like some people believe that things from outside our shores maybe will be of better quality. Is that
okay,
it?
Then,
no, it's a question. It's a question. It's a question.
Yes. I'm saying if that is the case, then shame on all the standard organizations we have in Nigeria. What are they doing? I mean, put this thing on international standard and see.
No. I think you are not getting me rightly. The thing may be of superior quality, but you see, I'm talking about perception. I'm not talking about reality. You see, yeah. So the thing may be superior, but because of a certain perception, people ascribe inferiority to the products. For example, I don't want to mention any particular product, but I remember I was having a discussion with somebody about China. Well, let me use a phone, for example. I said, oh, this one is a China phone. And by China phone, the connotation is inferior quality phone. All right. Then I was telling the person that, I know you are so much into iPhone. The iPhone you are using was assembled in China. Do you get what I'm saying? It's very likely that maybe the same factory that assembled the iPhone and put an Apple logo on it is the same factory that is producing the fake one. Only that the quality controls they use for the two are not the same. So therefore, the materials and then whatever, and the testing or whatever that goes into it may not be the same. That is how come one you perceive it to be a throwaway food. Do you get it?
Yeah, now
So it's a
let's talk about,
perception problem.
yeah, let's talk about the perception. Yeah, the government has been making a campaign that we should patronize the Nigerian made goods and all of that. They get it. Sorry. Okay. I'm trying to plug in my device so we will have a longer. So, and recently they wanted to, I think, buy vehicles for the Senate, all the senators, and Nigerians are saying patronize our local brands. It has become an issue this past few weeks.
Because
Only the campaign that people should patronize Nigerian made goods are not patronizing the Nigerian made goods. Do you get it? So it's more, of course, and in any country, the government is the highest
consumer.
consumer of.
No, in African countries, let's take it this way.
That's true. But I know that Americans will go for American product more than any other.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Yeah, I said maybe. But then, before anybody knows the Ford, before everybody knows the Tesla, before everybody knows the Chevrolet or the GM products and all of that, I believe American patronize them, right?
Yeah.
But
obviously.
America has the highest number of Tesla today. So all of that, I believe Africa should look inward. And I don't know if you know Wally in Turkey, yeah, in Turkey or Tunisia, I think it's Tunisia. Wally, they produce this chip using fiber.
I don't know them.
I mean, they are the only, I mean, I really love those guys. They are brothers. They are the only vehicle produced in Nigeria that is being exported to Europe. Europe is their biggest consumer. They patronize them a lot from Europe.
They produce in Nigeria?
They produce in Tunisia.
Okay. Yeah. I think that Morocco and Egypt also, I have to confirm that. They all have production plants, and it seems that some of them they export to Europe. When I was asking you about my magic wand scenario,
how many policies have I given you?
I think you gave 3. Oh, you spoke about what? You spoke about. Hello?
To encourage manufacturers for local production.
Good. And then how to, okay, so that's 2. How to limit the usage of old cars. So the 3rd one was?
To actually not license the old rickety vehicles for roadworthiness.
That is part of the 2nd point.
Okay, we should take that 2nd point. So what could be the 3rd one?
You have to think about it. When I asked you the question, I was expecting a different answer. Let me put it in context. Like maybe because I'm also I'm a physicist, I have a physics background. First principles. It works. What are you trying to do? You are trying to move people. Currently, on our continent, most people use other bicycles. Either they walk, they bike, motorcycle, or bicycle, or they use some form of public transport. And the public transport we are talking about is not what you see in Europe or in China, where we have these buses, intercity buses and all that. So intracity buses. We are talking about, I don't know how you call it, this small urban. Those no, you see, when I say bus, an European watching this video is thinking about a bus. I hope you get what I'm saying. But a Nigerian, a Kenyan, an Ivorian, or a Congolese watching the video is thinking about maybe the Toyota Haze, or is it Haze or Hiace? I don't know how you pronounce it. The Sprinter, the Mercedes Sprinter. That is what we have in mind. Okay?
Yeah.
That is how majority of our people transport themselves currently. All this hoopla about used cars and all that is for personal use. Okay? And that's for the middle and upper middle income to worthy people. But the majority of the people who are predominantly young on our continent and who are either poor or a bit above the poverty line, we are all thinking about public transport. In Nigeria, you call it, is it Okada? You have this Okada. Togo, they call it Zemija. These motorbikes that can swerve through traffic and all that. All right. So if you want to electrify transport, and this is why I believe that Africa, a lot of people are missing the whole point, because it is easier to replace, let's say, 500,000 buses than 10 million cars. Okay, I'm talking about the minivans. Okay. One minivan is carrying 35 people. One car, for most of the time, will carry only one person from the house to work and all that. I hope you get what I'm saying. So immediately, and the people who are operating these buses are businessmen. They are thinking about their return on investment. So if I can buy maybe a Sprinter for, let's say, $10,000, and every time I am buying petrol, every week or every 2 weeks, I have to take the car for maintenance because of the high usage. And I can buy maybe an electric one for 12,000. That I don't need to do any maintenance per se. Maybe just change the tires and check the alignment. But all these engine issues, carburetor, fan belt, all those things are gone. The only other question is, can I charge it? And where can I charge it? You see, that is a question that is very more acute for a country like Nigeria, where you told me that sometimes you have electricity for, let's say, 2 hours in a day. Okay. But even that one, if you are using a solar system with battery storage, problem solved. That business person would prefer to go and buy this electric bus for purely economic reasons, not whatever. Or, as you're about to talk about the electric motorbikes or motorcycles, bicycles, that you add a battery pack to. I was thinking you would go this way.
No, you see, that's the issue. I know where you are going to, but this is Nigeria, and there are some realities you are not considering.
Okay. Please educate us.
When we started this conversation, I told you how, let me tell you, the people that are into transportation and their services are premium, like private companies, are the big guns, are the ones that have the money. We have so many of those companies. They fly long distances, like Lagos to Abuja, to Port Harcourt, and all of that.
They have the money, like the Chiscos and whatever.
Those ones, they have the money to buy their own lines of buses.
Vehicles.
For the masses you are talking about, even those that patronize them are not regular masses, are the ones that have the money to pay for those services and travel with those buses. It's air conditioned and all of that. The masses you are really talking about want to pay 50 naira, want to pay 100 naira for a very long distance. And the buses are...
100 naira is how much in dollars?
That's about, 360 for $1. 100 would be about
260 for $100.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, $100 divided by 3. That's about $120. Sorry.
Okay.
I do.
That's 12.5. You said that they will pay 100 naira, right?
100 naira. So that would be 0.12 something. That would be about 40 cents or something.
40 cents.
Do the calculation if you have the means. Like
No, it said
100 divided by 360, thereabout. Is that not the calculation?
is it 100 divided by what?
360. That's 0.36. That's about 36 cents.
Okay, my brain is too fried to do that calculation right now. But
Neighborhood 6 to 40 cents. So, like that. And the vehicles available to them are this rickety vehicle I told you I'm trying to ban.
okay.
Now, majority of the people that will be impacted by that policy are in transportation industry. Every vehicle owner, or a larger percentage of vehicle owners in this country, they are private owners, wants to put their vehicle in order, at least put it in a usable way. But for transportation, they don't really care. They just want to make the money. I was sitting in a particular taxi and I was seeing the floor of the vehicle.
I don't know why I'm laughing, but it's
But the truth is that those ones cannot afford any electric vehicle or vehicle bus, no matter the amount, except the government will say, okay, we ban this. They will now go on higher purchase and all of that and give them a flexible amount of payments for them to, even if they know it's government that is doing it, some of them will have scorned. Some of them will jump it because the mentality here is that it's a national cake. One of us.
You
want to have the private sector to help you regulate. That's why you involve the banks. And when people say it's bank, they won't even come at all. So we need to be aware of our peculiarities. I always talk about it. It's happening even in any African country. It doesn't mean it can happen in my country because the mentality, the vast majority of transporters, let's say the ones we talk about, the companies, the private companies that are running all these fleets, that are well okay, that are well maintained, paying salaries to drivers, they are just 10% of the total transport workers.
Okay.
The rest are individual owners that are just managing their vehicle to carry people and make money to make ends meet.
Good.
And I can even tell you that one,
you see,
vehicle may have 3 drivers. They have 3 drivers.
Okay.
One owner, driver. So what they do is,
and the 2 spares.
Work from 6 to 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. Me, I will work from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. You will work from that 5 p.m. to 8 or 9 p.m. in the night.
So the car doesn't rest.
The car does not rest. No time for maintenance. They overload it. You know, the situation is really peculiar. This is the field I've been that.
What you say? I remember a situation last year where I was going to a part of another part of our country. Then from one place to another, the road was so terrible, and what happened was that the taxi I took, one man decided to enter the boot of the taxi. So he was in the boot for the. I was shocked out of my skull. I was like, what? I've never seen that before.
Now, let me give you this statistics.
Okay.
Nigeria has about 50 or 59 vehicles per 1,000 people. I can't remember that of Ghana, but South Africa has about 200 vehicles per 1,000 people.
Ghana is higher. I should think so.
I will look it up. These are the numbers I've been using to tell people that my business in electric bicycle and all of that is really viable. That it's really a problem when people cannot move. I was telling somebody on our network of this immobility enthusiasts and all of that and advocates that we need to electrify. We need to decarbonize the transportation sector to enhance decarbonizing the energy sector. But he did not agree, and I was trying to give him points. It feels like power is the blood of everything.
Surely.
And I want to tell you that transportation is the water of everything. So, mobility, transportation sector generally, if we successfully decarbonize it, we enhance demands in energy sector that will enhance decarbonizing the energy sector. That is talking about renewable energy and all of that. You see, another part is that nothing happens if there is no movement. Majorly, what is ahead? So you want to set up any power, you want to extend, you want to expand the power sector, you want to do anything in the energy sector, you need mobility. Any form of mobility, sky, land, water, anyone. So you can't even get that done. You can't get food supply. You can't get anything without mobility. So it's majorly important. I believe these are two powerful sectors that are dominating our human existence, human life, and all of that. But then, if we look at it critically, we'll see that it will take enormous effort in decarbonizing the transportation sector. It will be relatively easy to decarbonize the energy sector. Now, let us go back in time. The first vehicle, according to history, is electric. But then,
the first car because electric,
because of the power also of the capitalists and all of that.
I talking about Rockefeller.
You get. Now, what I'm saying is that they actually made demand available before they start exploring oil and gas. You get what I'm saying? Hello?
No, I don't get what you're saying.
Okay, so the first vehicle was actually electric. You agree to that, right?
Oh yes. The first cars were electric.
What do you think happened first before we start having oil and gas that is now dominating the whole economy?
Okay. So at the time, the petroleum industry was basically refining kerosene. It was kerosene that was their interest because they needed it for light, which was better than the wheel oil that we were using for candles. Okay, so that was a business. But I think around the same time too, Edison and Tesla invented the electricity and the grid. So what happened is that you see that their business was going to go down because the primary product, there's an alternative and superior technology that had been invented for that, which is lighting. In fact, petroleum used to be thrown away. They go and throw away. That's a waste. It's a waste. Do you get it? But only that then somebody also invented the internal combustion engine. It's called internal because, you know, before there was a steam engine. All right. Now, the issue with that is, let me see. I think I can have a presentation that, one of these presentations that we were giving to, let me see. Maybe I can the point is, you see, there's some politics involved. Because the first cars too were hand-built and they were more artisanal. So because they were hand-built, they were very expensive. So it's more like a toy for the rich. I hope you get what I'm saying. Of course, when you compare the electric ones to the petrol ones, the electric ones were silent, they were smoother and everything. The only problem was the range.
The range, of course.
Good. The petrol ones, they were noisy, they vibrate, they cause, they breathe out this nauseous fumes of the petroleum that they burn. However, because of energy density, that's what I wanted to show you. You see, so that was the hook. Because this guy? What's the name? Henry Ford. He wanted something for the masses. All right, and the masses. Okay, good. I've gotten the diagram I wanted to show you. I've gotten it.
What I wanted to bring out of my conversation is actually the fact that the automobile industry made or revived the oil and gas industry.
Oh yes. So what's something? Can you see? So at the time, the batteries they were using for these old cars in the 1900s. Okay. If you want the car to go 500 kilometers, if you are using a petrol car and you want an electric one with battery to go the same 500 kilometers, you need extra battery size weighing the equivalent of an elephant. Did you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then, of course, with improvement in the 2000s, that number came down by a factor of, by order of 10. Do you get it? Then we started this whole lithium-ion battery technologies. Okay, so you have nickel metal hydride. Today, we see that now the energy density of the batteries have increased. So energy density is basically, for our listeners, is basically how much energy you can pack in a given
I'm not really
of battery.
To the energy storage or density right now. But okay, the point I'm trying to emphasize on is that oil and gas industry was revived in line with the story of,
yes, by the internal combustion engine for transportation.
Right?
Good.
Transportation
yes.
Now, I want to reverse that case.
Good.
The same system. You put into the transportation sector what you want the other sector to look like. So you decarbonize the mobility sector, the transportation sector.
You mean you electrify it?
You electrify it.
Thereby decarbonizing it.
So of course, there's this hydrogen that is still fighting for relevance.
It's not going to work. It's not going to work. But that's my opinion. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. That ship has sailed.
I'm even giving hydrogen a chance. So, and there's this.
Well, there's an argument for the long haul, but still, I think that is one of the reasons why I am an Elon Musk fan, because you see that he approaches it from a physics perspective. From an energy perspective, it doesn't make sense. Okay, that energy that I can use directly, why do you have to now use it to convert to produce hydrogen, which will make me lose a huge chunk of it? Then later on, I have to compress it. Yes, you see, the cost is just too high.
Yes. I saw that presentation, and it actually makes sense on the cost.
You see, and even the transportation. You see, what you are trying to say in one way, I will disagree with you, even though I will agree with you in another way. From the perspective that you are approaching it, I will agree with you that the transportation sector needs to lead the electrification, because the economies of scale that you acquire from there, naturally speaking, will affect the energy sector. Even though energy is bigger, transportation is huge, bigger, but energy is bigger. So an example is the batteries. So right now, because of the transportation sector,
when you're talking about energy sector, we're just not talking about electricity alone.
Yes, of course, energy is energy. And you see, even transportation is a subset of energy, because what is energy? The ability to do work. Doing work means that moving things and heating things or cooling things. That's work. So transportation is an expression of energy, because for you to move the thing, you need to use energy to move the thing. What we are talking about is,
when we now have every energy sector right now, which is a subset, we now have subsystems or subsectors. One sector will now enhance the whole system, which is
of course, it's transportation.
In fact, I wanted to bring that up so that it will be on record that that position. Okay, and
you sound like a politician. I want it on record.
You made mention of what's it called? Electric bicycle.
Yes, yes.
Because electric bicycle right now majorly will be for last mile, cannot do the longest distance we have. In the long run, it will still get to that level whereby it will form at least 40% of our means of transportation. Do you get it?
Yeah.
But right now, it's purely for last mile. Last mile in the sense that, okay, I come down from the bus, I want to get to my house, I can just pick bicycle, because of course buses will not go into your various houses. Will drop you at the bus stop. So to be for last mile, even in logistics and all of that. So that is why we are looking at incorporating, because Nigerians, or most part, Africa, have relegated that part of the transportation system to the rural setting. And that rural setting, if you have a bicycle, you are a king, you know. So,
but that is the reality.
I didn't get that.
I'm saying that is the reality. You see, and the bicycles, I think that everything we discuss, this whole sustainability thing, is in the context of our population, and our urban space. You see that we are the youngest continent in terms of age. We are the fastest growing, and we are the fastest urbanizing. We are the least urbanized, but we are the fastest urbanized. Okay. Now, that brings a number of interesting issues to the fore, including transportation. So you see that in our villages, the bicycles are predominant amongst the farmers and the old folks as they're moving about, or they walk. But then, motorcycles also play a vital role. Okay? Even in the cities, especially some of our mega cities like Lagos and Co., you see that because of traffic, a lot of people prefer to use the motorbikes, these commercial motorbikes. Okay? And one of the reasons why motorbikes are popular is because they are more affordable. Is that also? So a project like yours, where you're working on e-bikes and e-motorcycles, is so relevant and is so viable, because that is a means of transport that people are already patronizing in large numbers. Okay. The only thing is that now you are replacing this two-stroke engine with a motor and a battery.
Okay, so there are two things I want to quickly mention, because regulations is really clamping down on motorcyclists in Nigeria right now.
Okay.
I don't know if you have seen that news.
There's a debate also going in Ghana about that. I mean, it's like some people are for outright ban, some people are saying we should regulate, some people are saying we should let them be. I mean, the debate is all over the map. Can you hear me?
It's raining right now, so I'm not hearing you properly, but I can still hear you faintly. Now, what I'm saying is, earlier, the government has, what can I say, left their duties undone.
Okay.
Because they license anybody, of course, before you can get a license to ride a bicycle or to drive a car, the licensing office must be able to attest to it that you are able. But no, it doesn't work like that in Nigeria.
Why?
Anybody apply for license.
Is it that people don't check, they just collect the money and then maybe they get a tip and then they just go their way?
Only lately, they are saying that before you come for your license, that's for new people. Before you come for your license, you must be able to show a certificate from a driving school that, okay, you pass through them and you know how to drive. It's not that the government are the ones really doing the check, or they have other partners they have contracted to do the checks for them. So the whole system is really porous. So and that is even working on the new people that just want to. For me, that have been having my license since they brought it to me at home. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can go for renewal. So all of that has really made the transportation sector, our transportation system, a deadly act, prone to accident.
Okay.
The major of all these things now are the bicycle or the motorcyclists. They do not observe any road sign. They do not observe any traffic rule. They just ride. So Lagos has clamped down on them now, banning them from major, business hubs in Lagos, and which is really affecting their business, because if they do not ply those roads, they cannot make the money. All the go-karters, all the Max and all of them, they are really crying. So right now, have you asked why bicycles are the most, in quotes, unregulated, means of transportation in the world? Reason being that it is categorized as a sport activity, and at the same time, the speed is limited. I mean, the highest speed so far, I could be wrong, will be about 25 miles per hour. Are you hearing me?
I'm here.
Yes. I know there are bicycles that do way more than that, definitely. So, but when it comes to electric bicycle, some form of regulations are coming on board, because it's now propelled.
Okay.
It's now propelled by some sort of energy. But then it's still relatively, because now it's not that you just sit down on it majorly, except you want that picture. You don't just sit down on it and start traveling or going your way. There's what we call pedal assist. Some of them are pedal assisted until you pedal before you get that, force from the electric motor. So this makes it more interesting, because when you have this little help from the electric motor, it makes you not to feel the stress so much. You may still get warmed up because of the movement, of course, but the enough force you need to prepare yourself is being assisted by the electric motor. So you could travel a long distance. And that is why the UN and most organizations are emphasizing on e-mobility, emphasizing on the electric vehicle and, all this electric motorcycle and bicycles. So for me in Nigeria, I will emphasize less on electric bicycles. On electric motorcycles because of the safety aspect of it. You cannot, of course, you have to give minimum 60 miles per hour for electric motorcycle and all of that. So, and if it's not going to speed enough, people may not even patronize that. So for electric bicycle, at some point you start by making it, reasonable, and making it reasonable for last mile journey, deliveries and all of that. And as time goes on, it will be for the core. By the time people now see that, okay, I can travel 50, 100 kilometers on my electric bicycle, and I will not have hold up. I can, use it on walking paths where people walk and all of that, and it's relatively safe. People will start adopting that mode of system. I was the opinion that because someone contacted me and said they want us to see how we can replace most vehicles on Nigerian roads with electric bicycles. I said that cannot happen in 10 years.
Why? Replace the vehicles with bicycles. Why?
We believe that electric vehicles are quite expensive. Electric bicycles are very cheap. And because of that, and because of congestions on the road, electric bicycles will make a lot of sense.
But that will increase the congestion rather. It's about number of people. Hello?
I think bicycles will increase congestion.
Yes, you see, it's about numbers per vehicle. Okay, so for example, if you have 20 motorcycles, okay, that are carrying 20 people, as opposed to one minivan carrying 20 people, they are not the same from a traffic perspective. Okay, what there is, and I know why we are saying what you're saying, because you see that in traffic situation, the motorbikes can navigate whilst everybody at a standstill. But the basic problem that is being created by these cars that are in traffic is the same thing that also being created by the motorcycles, but at a smaller scale, relatively speaking. All right. So what you want to do, because what you have is a demand usage kind of situation. So you see that maybe there's a particular time that a lot of people are on the road. That is what is causing the traffic. All right. Let's say from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. people are leaving the office, they are going to their houses. So there's a lot of traffic. But then midnight, the same road, there's no traffic. Do you get what I'm saying? Now, if you analyze the people who are in the traffic from that 3 p.m. to 8 p.m., what you see is that some are in buses, and majority are in, and some are also in their private cars. Okay. What will surprise you is that the people in private cars, most of them are alone. A few are two in the car. I hope you get what I'm saying. So now, if you see, let's say, 80 private cars, what that tells you is that you can replace those 80 private cars with maybe 2 minivans. Good. 2 or 3 minivans. And those 2 or 3 minivans will occupy maybe 20% of the space of those cars. I don't know that we are following the logic. It's a simple, you see, and we don't have to make it complex. One of the things that I think we are fond of doing is to make simple things complex, either by talking about them with highfalutin words or starting the discussion from such a high level that people are lost. I mean, you for because of the trees, you have lost track of the, sorry, because of the forest, you have lost track of the trees. I hope you understand. Hello?
You mean what we are discussing right now?
Yes. You see, so the issue with the traffic problem is simple. We have to figure out a way to get a lot of our people to continue using what they are using. And how do we do that? First of all, there's safety, and then there's comfort. You made allusions to that, the people who are the private car owners, they just want money. You know also. And
so
I was going.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to say what?
Yeah, what I was going to say about that is that is very true. But one thing that you also seem to be discounting is human psychology. You know, human beings, we are emotional people. You get it? If I have two buses parked at the station, one for the same price, but one is electric, is comfortable. Maybe it's even cheaper because the guy is not doing maintenance, is not buying fuel at a high price. Okay? As a rational, emotional human being, most people would prefer to go for the nicer car. Do you get what I'm saying? So the only thing is that the only reason why this situation where people are just, they don't want any money, they put any kind of nightmare on the road is because the only reason that persists is because there is no viable alternative that is economical. You get it? So it is also a failure of our regulators. I mean, and this is not a Nigerian problem. It's an African problem. We have a similar thing here where you see the trotros that we have, which are the minivans for those of you who are not Ghanaians, is they are death traps. People go and import these sprinters that are meant for cargos, then come and do local seats, put them in these sprinters and put them on the road. No seat belts, sharp edges. That's it.
Yeah, you see, before I forget some of the points, where we started from is that look at it critically. This is the problem of private car owners, not those that are actually using public transport.
Explain.
So now, if yeah,
explain.
You know what?
I'm saying explain.
Okay, so I cannot look at the statistics from the National Bureau of Statistics right now on vehicles, but Nigeria currently have 11.7 million vehicles, according to them.
What was the breakdown?
About, I think, 46 or 56% of that is commercial.
Really?
Yeah. So, if we
did you say 56%?
Yes, kind of.
So out of 11 million, so you're looking at approximately 6 million of them.
We are not even talking about the conditions of those vehicles now. We are not considering
that. Yes, just the raw numbers.
So we are not looking at leftover, which is private owner. They are the main problem causing traffic. Now, it will surprise you to know that If all those, let's say 44% who are private owners are on the road at the same time, like you said, one passenger or
Of
one
course.
driver, the amount of space is always clogged. Most journeys of commercial vehicles at times want to have a full load, they move. They drop them, they go back, and they know their routes. It's not that they are going everywhere. But a private owner wants to get to 3, 4 places before returning home. Are you getting it?
Mm-hmm.
These are the other conditions that you have not considered that causes this thing. Now, if you replace all those private owners with a private bicycle, we are not considering more buses or more minivans or whether it's electric or not. We are looking for immediate solution.
With motorcycles, that will reduce the traffic. That will reduce the traffic. That will reduce the traffic relative to where it was before.
Yeah. So before we start considering the cost of ownership of a bus, the cost of maintenance of an electric van or electric vehicle, whatever it is, before all of that, what could be done in the interim?
Yeah. You see, the other issue, you see, with this, what you are saying, I feel that the conversation has become very interesting. Is that, you see, our roads are not designed for, thank you, and even pedestrians. You see, it's a design failure. So you see that our roads are designed for cars. That's it. It is one of the reasons for these accidents that you are seeing, apart from indiscipline and all that. Hello?
The reason for DG, is it 9 or so? Sustainable development.
You're talking about livable cities.
Sustainable city or thereabout. SDG 9
Okay.
or so.
Yeah. But my Jimmy can go there.
But mind you, it's not every road in advanced countries that are really designed for biking as well.
Okay. That I accept.
But they still bike. They bike following every rules, every traffic rules. You know, all the safety gadgets you put on, your helmet, all the guards and all of that. You know, but here, we do nothing. Even seat belt is a problem.
Well, so at the end of the day, it's a number of factors. It's not just one size fits all.
Before we solve the factors, we'll keep moving. We have to move.
Yeah, so we have to start with what we can start with, and then work on the rest as we go along. Because like what was what the decision I made about the design failure. Some of those things, maybe what you need is a paint. You get what I'm saying? So you just demarcate part of the road that this part is for motorists, for bicycles and pedestrians or something of that nature. Something that can work. Or like we were saying about safety.
It's possible. You know why I know it's possible? When Lagos started this, what do they call the rapid mass transport bus or bus rapid transport?
The BRT system. I think that Ghana also tried the same thing.
What they did, they carved out a part of the road.
They went to paint on it. They went to paint a BRT lane.
They demarcated it. You can't even shift lane, not even about line again alone. There are barriers all through. So, and it's only meant for the BRTs. So people were, using that BRT a lot because, of course, there's no hold up. It's just one way. No other person is allowed to enter into it. But some miscreants still, use those roads. But it should be for BRTs and emergencies alone. Do you get it?
Yeah.
If they could do that in less than 6 months, I believe.
But no, it's just a paint. It's just paint and a bucket and a painter. Is it?
If in a country where compliance is at the top level that you just paint and leave it like that. It's not about paint alone. It's about putting the barrier
Excuse me.
for people not to, intersect into those lanes. It's not about paint alone.
Be about enforcement of the.
When Lagos was trying to encourage people to use pedestrian bridge,
Okay.
barricades along the major road so you cannot cross highways. Lagos is more of 3-4 lanes, on each side. So people will keep running those lanes till they cross, and there are pedestrian bridge there. Someone will see pedestrian bridge right beside him. I will still want to cross the major lane. Do you get it? So probably they recorded the number of accidents. So they wanted to enforce it, and they put those nets, those
So a physical barrier, a physical barrier.
Like that in between the road. You know what they did? You know what the people did? They cut down those.
Somebody said that if hunters have learned to shoot without missing, the best have learned to fly without perching.
So it's really difficult because it's often a culture we were born with. Our government are not proactive.
I think that's an acquired culture. It can be disacquired. Anyway, but that's a bigger issue for a different forum. Anyway,
managing, we get it right.
But I feel that, you see, what our leaders are not anticipating, or maybe they are not thinking about the import extensively, is the fact that our population is growing, and we are urban. You see, there are, when it comes to transportation or even energy, you see, transportation, for example, there are two clear usage scenarios. We have the intracity movement, what you are doing within the city, and then we have between cities, the long journeys. Okay, all this cycling and whatever, they're talking about within the city. So somebody maybe is going 70 kilometers somewhere. He can afford to cycle there or motorbike there. You get what I'm saying? It's different from maybe you're going to a different city or something. Now, be that as it may, I still stand by what I was saying earlier.
Right?
That, you see, that it will take bicycles, it will take the motorbikes, and very importantly, it will take the public transport. Now, when it comes to the private cars, one of the reasons why people also want to have their own cars is prestige. You get what I'm saying? Now, if at some point it just does not make any economic sense, a large chunk of people who are using these cars will opt out. It's like with the advent of Uber, you see that a number of our generation now are not so keen on driving. So somebody may have a car, he just park the car and generally be taking Uber because he feels that, oh, Uber is convenient. I mean, it's a better experience than average taxi. See?
It's not economical.
Yes. However, what if it were economical? I don't know about you, but there in Nigeria, but here in Ghana, depending on the time and the distance or whatever, sometimes Uber is far cheaper than a taxi for me. I've not had an instance where it's cheaper than a trotro. You get what I'm saying? But imagine that. I mean, you have the numbers. We can put our research here. Imagine that.
Cooling is cheaper.
What's that?
carpooling is cheaper. If you can share your ride with other passengers,
Okay.
it's cheaper.
That is what makes public transport the cheapest.
Yes. So, but carpooling, I think Uber tried it in Lagos. It wasn't working, so they ended it. So, if I'm your route and I'm requesting for a ride, and your ride is along where we are going or slightly different.
You mean Uber
So,
pool? Uber pool.
Uber pool, carpooling generally.
Okay.
So you can ride together, they drop me off, they go drop you off. That is cheaper rather than only you, the passenger, and you move from point A to point B. Okay. So, well, continue with your line of conversation.
No. But the other side with that is that you see, these ride sharing services, you see that they are prevalent in only the bigger cities or the bigger cities. Well, that's what makes economic sense for them. But if you look at the demographics of our continent, you see that it's not just that the big cities are growing bigger, but a number of smaller cities are also becoming medium-sized cities. I hope you get what I'm saying. So the mega cities like Lagos, but they're also the Kadunas, they're also the Tamalis that are all in the mix there. Cities of 1 million people or less. You get what I'm saying? That maybe an Uber or so may not go there. I hope you get what I'm saying. But the total, you see, because you take one of these private transport if you can see that it is safe and it is comfortable. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes even driving is a stress and a hassle. And mind you, anytime you are driving, it means that you are paying for the insurance for the car, you are paying for maintenance, you are paying for fuel. I mean, it's a lot of expenses for that convenience. So if you can get the convenience without the expenses, the only other reason why you may want the car is prestige.
Ego.
Yes. And that number will be maybe 20% of the rest, that's 20% of the number you have today, that there is no safe and comfortable public transport in the main.
There are three factors at play here, and the combination of those factors are what determines every other thing. Okay, so for public transportation, it's cost, because it's cheaper. Mm-hmm. You will trade off comfort and time. Are you getting it?
Yeah,
so the three factors that make people make decisions in their means of transportation is cost, comfortability, and time.
Okay.
So if you are a private driver, you own your vehicle, that means you want the three.
Are you sure?
I mean, you want two out of it,
yes.
Let's say. But you can afford the cost. That's why. The cost is high, but you will get...
You can afford it.
You get wherever you are going on time, as well as you'll be comfortable. If you are going on public transportation that will give you comfort, the cost is relatively higher, and you will see trade-off time.
But it's still cheaper than the private, outright private.
Yes. Yes. So now, to combine those three things, cheap, comfort, and time, under one of the the types of
the Venn diagram where the all three intersect.
It's just like the energy industry or the battery technology, that you want to have a higher energy density,
longevity,
very cheap,
and then price.
You know, it's really we can have maximum of two at a time.
Yeah, but you see, that is where a step change of technology comes in, because this constraint, okay, it applies to the internal combustion engine ecosystem. So we're talking about either the petrol engine or the diesel engine, which are all different forms of the same engine, internal combustion engine. But if you do a step change to the electric vehicles, be it a bike or a car, okay.
So
Now the you can get the comfort, you can get the time, and the cost, okay, is still coming down. So in 2-3 years time, you will get the cost.
okay, so that is the part. Until first the cost of procurement comes down before you can start
Let me share something here.
before you can start talking about having the three. And in fact, it will now drive the cost of public transport so low than any other.
I don't understand. Okay, so what's something? What's something? Can you see what I shared?
Yeah.
So I have some diagram. It's not on my laptop, but I can share this with you. Today, as we talk, we are talking. In almost every dimension, electric cars are cheaper in terms of production cost than petrol cars, except for the batteries. And the batteries are roughly 40% of the cost. Even the motor is cheaper compared to the engine of the car.
That is selling only the vehicle case. They are swapping the battery. And
I don't understand.
it costs about, I think, $16,000 or so. So you keep swapping batteries, pay for the battery you are renting. They are not selling battery.
No. That model, I think it works for things like the bikes. That model works for the bikes. It works for, or it may work for maybe the buses, the big ones. I'm not sure about that. But I think the motorbikes, it makes sense. But for the cars, I don't think it works. Because you see, we're talking about batteries. So we don't know the person who has used this battery before, how he handles the battery. And because it's a public, the person that he is going to send it back, he may have abused and used the battery anyhow. I hope you understand. So will you be comfortable giving your battery that you have cared for well to the replacement station and then getting a different battery that maybe the person has abused? I hope you understand. And that's the first thing. The second thing is that currently charging times have come down so much, and they are still coming down. Okay. So we are at the point that it renders that obsolete.
No, not really. You see.
Well, that's my point of view.
Okay.
I mean, I remain open to persuasion.
Yeah. How do you misuse a battery that is heavy, that is bolted down under the chassis of your car? How do you misuse it?
Okay, so we're talking about the charging regime. So you see that somebody
cost of purchase.
Is it?
I'm talking about the cost of purchase.
The cost of
purchase, the purchase price.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so a company brings out a vehicle and says, I own my battery, you own the car. You are renting batteries for me. I'm not selling batteries to you.
Okay.
So they sell the car to you at $16,000.
Yes. And then keep the battery. So you'll be paying usage fee for the battery.
That the next time you need a battery, just walk into any of our stations worldwide or nationwide and get a swap in less than 3 minutes.
Why would I
So,
need, under what conditions do you think I would need to swap my battery?
okay, so let me tell you that the model is very convenient because you don't worry about charges. You are not incurring any cost on charges. The company takes care of their battery and charge it for you. All you need to do is spend 3 minutes on their ramp, and a robot removes the battery and puts in another, and you go your way. And if you are having a considerable mile, it's a model that will work, but it's an expensive model for the company, very expensive, because of the infrastructures they need to put in place worldwide. I mean, literally every street must have
A number of charging swapping stations. And
swapping station.
my point is that model works if you're talking about like an electric bus. I know of a number of these electric bus companies that are running that model. It works. It works. But if you're talking about personal cars, because the buses too, they have bigger battery packs. Okay. But if you're talking about personal vehicles, uh, not so much. You get what I'm saying? Because the reason why you want to do that is because maybe it's taking too long to charge. So let's say you have a bus. Now you have worked for 8 hours. Your battery is low. Are you going to spend 2 to 8 hours extra to charge it fully? I hope you get what I'm saying. Obviously not. If you can just go and swap for 5 minutes to replace your battery, that is fine. But if you are driving your personal or private vehicle, that the average distance traveled within the city, if you are for city driving, is 70 kilometers. Okay. Now, this new electric cars that we have in the system, most of them are long range. So we are getting from 300 kilometers up. Okay. So if you charge the car fully overnight in your house, we spend 6 hours charging it overnight, and you now have 300 kilometers, and you use only 70 kilometers. It means that what? You may use your car for 4 days before you have to recharge overnight again.
You have a cost on charging, right?
Yes, but guess what? This logic I'm explaining to you is based on data. So you see that everywhere in the world that people are using electric vehicles, most of the time, I think 90% or so, I mean, I may be wrong, they are charging in their houses. Okay? What brings the extra 10% that they are charging outside is either the person is living in an apartment, maybe he's on the top floor or something, and there's no way he can charge his car downstairs. So maybe he will charge at a public charging station, or maybe he will charge at work, or the other common scenario, the person is going for a long distance journey. Okay, so the person needs to charge along the way. I don't know whether you're following the logic. So, so you see, when you begin, I think the most important and relevant thing that people must keep in mind is the usage scenario, because that it affects the whole dynamics. Okay, for example, you were giving a statistics earlier that there were 11 million cars in Nigeria, and that 56% of them are commercial, which means that 44% are private, right? I am 100% certain that if you talk in terms of miles or kilometers driven, okay, the commercial vehicles will do maybe 5 or more times in terms of distance compared to the private ones. Well, the private person, he will just drive from his office to the house. to go and visit his wife or girlfriend or go party. But the commercial, in the day, he's going up and down, same circuit, same circuit, same circuit. So even in terms of fuel usage, you see that the commercial people will use more fuel. I hope you are getting the scenario. So for a device like the motorcycle, okay, where the battery pack is small, so it is less expensive, okay. It's cheaper for the electric bike company to say that, okay, I'm setting up a swapping station.
If it's for electric bicycle, you don't even need the company to do that. Just buy two pairs, or two pieces or a pair, charge at home,
Good.
hold it,
and then you can swap. Okay. Excuse me. So that works. But for a private vehicle, the rationale for this whole swapping is, number one, charging time, and number two, the cost. So somebody, a company will say that, okay, we know that the most expensive part of the car is the battery. So if we take out the battery, the car will be cheaper. If it's a Toyota Corolla size of car, the Toyota Corolla is going for, let's say, $20,000. Without the battery, the electric car may be $15,000. So we are selling the car $15,000, and we will lease our battery to you, which means that every month, maybe you pay us $200 for the use of our battery. Okay, that is one business model. So maybe you pay the lease price. After 5 years, you can renew, or maybe after 5 years, the battery becomes yours. It's a way of easing the initial upfront commitment. Okay, that is one scenario, and I'm saying that that scenario works very well when you look at, let's say, the commercial passenger vehicle. So the big buses, okay, the actual buses, or maybe even the trotro kind of situation, the minivans that we use for our public transport. So the manufacturer can have this business model with the commercial transport owners. Okay, that is fantastic, and it will solve some of the issues we were discussing earlier about the commercial drivers in Africa. Okay, but if you're talking about private vehicle owners, to me, not so much, because most of them, the motivation. Hello?
Economic or what? Are you saying it is not economical for private owners, or what?
No,
exactly
it's
disadvantage.
No, the disadvantage is there are two reasons for doing that. Either you want to make the upfront commitments cheaper, or you want to reduce charging times.
Three things, in fact.
Or what to be the third? I'm thinking cost of
purchase, the cost of
okay.
the purchase cost, then the cost of charging, and the charging time. Now, if you are telling me charging time has been reduced, it's only in super charging stations. If you are charging at home, if it's not from zero, or if it's zero, it's from zero, you still need 8 hours.
Well, you know that Africa will use 240 volts. Okay. Now we are going technical. I hope the audience will just stay with us here. Charging time is a function of the size of the battery, is also, and the rate of charging. So let's say if I'm pumping 200 kilowatt hours, and kilowatt hour is just it's a measure of energy, a unit of energy. Every 200 kilowatt hours into a 50 kilowatt battery. Okay. and the same energy, sorry, 200 watts. Let's talk about power. If I'm pumping, let's say, at 100 kilowatt hours, sorry, 100 watts to a 50 kilowatt hour battery, okay? The same rate of transfer to a 100 kilowatt hour battery means that I will spend twice as much time to charge the bigger battery. Is that also? Do you get my example?
Sorry, the network was really bad at the point. So
No, I'm saying that if I'm charging, let's say, a 50 kilowatt battery, kilowatt hours battery, okay, at a particular rate, if I double the size of that battery, maybe to make it 100 kilowatt hours, it means that I will need twice as much time to charge that battery.
we can increase on the power input.
No, if I maintain the power, if I maintain the power input, so whatever wattage I'm transferring, I maintain it. It means that because now I need twice this. I'm filling twice the size of container, so I will spend twice the time.
Have 50 kilowatt hour in the beginning.
No, that is the size of the battery.
50 kilowatt hour.
Yes.
And you are charging probably with the 400 watts charger.
Good. Okay. So right? It's 400. Yeah, 400 watts. So now. So let's say I have two cars. One is 400 watts, and sorry, one is 50 kilowatt hours. Another is 100 kilowatt hours. Okay, and both of them, the charge rate is 400 watts. Now, what it means that the 100 kilowatt hour battery will take twice as long to charge.
Then you can increase of your charger.
No, I mean, if everything else is equal, the only thing that's changing is the size. Okay, that is one instance. All right, but the more relevant way to look at charging speed is miles acquired per minute. Okay, the rationale is this: somebody like a Tesla compared to a Taycan, or recently the announcement GMD, they said that what they said they are releasing a 200 kilowatt hour battery pack that can go 400 kilometers or miles. Okay, hello.
Yeah, we do.
The current Model S Raven has a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack, which is almost 400 miles. Okay, so let's say if the two of us, you have a Model S and I have a Taycan, and we are all charging. After 20 minutes, okay, me with the Taycan, maybe I have gotten 100 miles or 100 kilometers. You with the Model S may have gained 200 kilometers. I don't know whether you're getting the logic.
I'm guessing it.
And ultimately, that is what we, the users, we are interested in. We are interested in how far we can travel for a given amount of time spent charging.
Okay, now you are putting two factors. You silently putting those two factors that determine mileage you just put it. You get it?
Well, we are in the metric system, so I'm trying to use kilometers.
So the charging rate, which is the actual power rating of the charger you are using. Then the consumption rate, which is the okay, the efficiency of
Good.
the car itself, its motor. So that determines the mileage. That's what calculates the mileage you actually quoted right now. That okay, I've got two vehicles, Model S has 20 kilometers, the other has 10 kilometers range after after the same 30 minutes or so. Is that the scenario? Now, what that really means is that if the charging rate is both 100 watts each, the charger for both vehicles is 100 watts each, and you are able to get 20 more kilometers on your Model S and 10 kilometers on your
I can.
Taycan, what that means is Model S is more efficient than Taycan.
Yeah, but the user, what the user, with the users we care about is that, oh, I'm charging for 10 minutes, I can travel more distance.
Okay, so if for every kilometer the Model S is just let's say 1 kilowatt hour for every kilometer, Model S is using 1 kilowatt hour, and for every 1 kilometer, Taycan is using 2 kilowatt hour. That is when this illustration is valid. You get it? But whatsoever it is, I just don't want to have that headache of charging. I just don't want to get to know how my battery gets charged. I just want to keep driving all my life. Every three minutes, I have a low battery. I want a change of my battery to a full one, and I'm driving.
Yeah,
It
but you
works.
see, you see, that's something that it's a function of range. You get it? If the average person,
Comfortability.
no, hold on. You see, there's psychology involved, but there's also practicality involved also. You see, if the
Cost and time.
yes, so think about it. If you fill your Toyota Corolla, you fill the tank. Most people when they fill the tank and they are using the car within the city, maybe after a week or so, 5 or 6 days, before you need to top up. You know, also that's a reality because averagely people are, statistically speaking, people drive 70 kilometers in a day within the city. Average means that, or maybe some people may drive 100 kilometers within the city, or maybe 20. I'm not talking about commercial cars. I'm talking about private cars. Okay. So if you have a car that on a full charge has 400 kilometers and above, it means that averagely speaking, and the Gaussian distribution, most people are in the average range. Okay. For most people, on a full charge, they don't need to recharge daily. I hope you get what I'm saying. Even if they need to
Swap daily.
hello?
That's just the same way you don't need to swap daily.
Yes. So the point is that it is removing the need for the swap because now I need to charge daily and every 3 days. So how do I charge? You see, that's why I made the argument that if you can use a smartphone anywhere in the world, basically you can use an electric car at that place. Because when you go to sleep, you can just charge your car overnight. You get what I'm saying? In Africa, we have 240 volts. That is level 2 charging. So maybe it will take you anywhere from 4 to 8 hours to charge your car from zero. All things being equal. I mean, depending on your number of it, but between 4 to 8 hours, give or take. Okay? So you go to sleep, you wake up, your car is charged, you go. In Nigeria, where your power situation is so bad that most of the time you even have light only 2 hours in a day. you charge your phones. How do you go about it? Maybe you have a generator, you have something. So the inconvenience factor, okay, is no longer a relevant issue in this context, okay? But for a bus that maybe they charge to the bus, the range of the bus is 400 kilometers. And within 8 hours, the bus are driving that 800 kilometers within the city. Okay?
Okay,
But
you
the bus,
believe, in conclusion, you believe that if you are needing, if you are using up the energy quickly and you need to recharge, the swap model is better, right? And that is a case of a mass transit bus, right?
no, I'm saying that the swap scenario makes more sense. Okay, swapping, they need to swap. It makes more sense for the buses and the two-wheel vehicles, or the motorcycles and co. It makes more sense. But even it making sense, okay, is tied down to two things: availability of charging stations and rate of charging. Let me explain. So, for example, if I know that I am living here and I'm going somewhere where I may need to charge, but I am not sure whether there's electricity available there or whether there's a charging point there. Okay, and let's say I'm using an electric bike. I can carry a spare battery along, so that when I get there, I need to top up. So I need to recharge. Instead of recharging, I will swap my battery. I hope you get what I'm saying. So that is one instance. And you know, in our part of the world, that instance will raise its head a lot. Okay.
Where you are not, you are only telling me it makes sense, it doesn't make sense. You have not given me in one of the factors that having your battery and charging at home is superior to the swapping model.
It's just that's why I think I alluded to that. It's two things:
But
convenience, and also
charge at home than to swap.
is it what?
That you feel that it's more convenient to charge at home than to swap.
Yeah, because you see what you are neglecting in that in your assessment is that for me to go do the swap, I have to go somewhere.
That somewhere is now nearby your street. I told you that the headache actually for the company. The company needs an enormous amount of money to put the infrastructures down.
Exactly. And you see, it is not only infrastructure. It's not only infrastructure. It's also time and energy. So hold on. So for example, Tesla is building superchargers, right? It is taking time. About my manual, because you cannot just pour money and then the two will appear out of the blue. Do you get what I'm saying? So even if I give you all the money that you need time, because you need to acquire the lands, you need to get the materials, you need to get the engineers to set up, you need to go through regulatory processes. All right? That is time. And it is proven that, with the example of Africa, for example, we are not so good when it comes to a lot of infrastructure projects and stuff like that because of corruption and self-interest. All right? That is a side issue. Now, sticking to the relevant point, okay? You, Olukokun, most people because we don't have an alternative, most people have not really thought about the fact that anytime they have to go somewhere, they have to go and park their car, they have to go off the beaten route or stop on their journey to fill their car. Okay? I mean, that is how it is. It is what it is. You don't have any other option. But
let
today,
me throw in,
mm-hmm.
let me throw in more light. Let us separate issues.
Okay.
On the part of the vehicle user, it makes all sense to swap your battery.
Okay.
It makes
because
your yes, cost and your time.
Okay, so let's go to them one by one. Cost.
To the company that owns the vehicle and that wants to do the swapping, it might not be so easy. That is when I will agree to your side of
you see, it's also a financial burden for the company, like you are saying. So why would the company do that if they can avoid it? Because, you see, let us stick with what we are saying, the cost components. You see that the company is doing this thing because the company wants people to adopt the technology or their products, to buy their products. Is that not so? Because somebody will say that, oh, electric cars are more expensive than the normal cars. That's why I like it, but I cannot buy it. Or the person will say that, oh, charging is a problem. Charging is a problem. So if I go for this electric car right now, how can I charge it? I don't think I can do that. Then the company will be like, oh, okay, we will sell the car to you. It's cheaper, and then you just release the battery because the battery is making it expensive. Oh, okay, if that's the case, how much cheaper? 20% cheaper. I will go for it. Or okay, you say charging is a problem. Oh, no worry. We have swapping stations. So when in the morning, when you're going to work, just come. Within 5 minutes, we will swap the battery for you, and you go. You see, it is a response to a problem. The problem is adoption and usage.
Yes.
I hope you get what I'm saying. So look at the solution from that perspective, which rests squarely on the user's objections or barriers to the user's objections. All right. The two of us, we can stick to the technicalities, but that is not what is at stake here. What is relevant is the user's psychology. I hope you understand. So, the user, today, the car I am using, I have to go. You see, I mean, an example is, let's say, me telling you that, okay, your mobile phone now, for you to charge it, you must go to a charging station to go and charge your phone.
Let me throw in this dynamic. If
I'm going to give you an example of Nigeria. Now, people charge.
You can charge at home as well. You can swap.
What do you say? What do you say?
Okay, you can. You have a charger. You can charge at home. You can swap
at home. Why will I swap at home?
What brought this elongated issue is because you said you don't know the conditions of usage of the battery. Will you take to swap and all of that?
Yeah, it's a valid point because you see, when you see, I am looking at the facts as I know them. Yeah, sir, and the psychology also of people. What belongs to you and what is for public usage? There are two different ways people handle them, generally speaking. Okay, people are more careful about their property than others' property or property that is meant for public use. How you're understanding it? Okay, so you Olukokun, for example, if you have electric car, and you are taking care of your electric car, you don't abuse the battery in terms of charging and discharging and the usage regimen. You know how you handle your car. Okay? The only reason why you consider swapping, let's take out the cost of acquisition. As if you have bought the car outright. The only reason why you consider going to swap your car's battery for a different one is because you want to reduce the charging time. It's a way around an issue. The issue is that you don't want to spend 8 hours charging your car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is the issue the problem you're trying to solve. That's the only reason why. So if you can solve that problem, normally speaking, you would not like to go and just swap your battery with somebody else's battery that you don't know how the person is using the battery, where the battery has a problem or what you don't know.
No, see, that mentality doesn't work at some point. That someone has used that battery, I don't know how it is. Now, the company is there to control the quality of the product they are going to. They said they want to be the custodian of their own battery to drive down the cost. Okay. I mean, it's a beautiful model solution to so many problems. You can get your vehicle cheaply and you can get moving quickly. So you are buying literally, maybe they are swapping the battery for you at $200 and you can go 200 miles. So you are buying the vehicle, it's the cheapest vehicle so far at $16,000, and you just swap your battery. No headache, no hassle. You are not paying for electricity, no electricity bill, just $200.
Mind you, the government, the government is sorry, the company is not for the Christmas.
You said?
I'm saying that the company is not for the Christmas.
It's not for the
So hold on. So this battery swap, the cost of charging and the cost of the battery, you have to pay for it in one way or another. You are paying for it one way or another.
Of course, it's a shared problem because they are sharing the cost on everyone. You are not the only one paying for it.
Yes, but at the end of the day, when everybody has finished paying, they must be able to recoup the investments they are putting in or make some money.
It's over time. That's what I'm saying. Are you looking at the company, or you are looking at the barrier, or you are looking at the users, the consumer? There are two ways.
My point, which I made earlier, is what I stand by. That ultimately, it is from the user's perspective. That's what is relevant in all this. And let me ask you a question.
This from the user's perspective.
Hold on. Let me ask a question. This scenario of the swap that you're talking about, okay? Are you saying that the person, the user, is paying, maybe is leasing the battery from the company, so every month they pay something, or when they bring their battery to be swapped, then they pay something? What is the model? Maybe I need to get clarity on that.
You are not paying for the battery. The battery is company's property. You are only paying for the car. But then, at every time you swap your battery with them for a fully charged one, you pay a cost. Are you getting
it? So you pay. Let's say you pay $200 every time you swap your battery for a new one. Okay, and then the assumption is that
somebody not the new one.
Okay, and the assumption is that the company will ensure the quality of the battery they are using to replace your old one. Is that it? So my issue about how somebody is, it doesn't stand. Okay, so let me in that case, let me now say this. Any reasonably intelligent individual, once they acquire this battery, will ensure that they do as few swaps as possible in the lifetime of their vehicle usage.
Why?
Because the battery is the most expensive part of the car. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, as an intelligent person, as I come to buy the car, you're telling me that you're selling me the car, but you're not selling me the battery. The battery is your property. I can come and swap it. My question would be, why are you doing that? Why is the battery not included in the cost of the car? Then you tell me that, oh, without the battery, the car is 16,000. But with the battery, the car is, let's say, 30,000. I said, really? So the battery is almost equivalent to the car. I say, yes. So without the battery, the car is cheaper than Toyota Corolla, was going for 24,000. But with the battery, that is why we are giving you the car. We are selling the car without the battery so that it will be more affordable, and we will absorb the cost of the battery. Is that also? And we are returning right to the battery. Now, what you are basically telling me is that I am going to acquire this car because the car is with me. Have full rights of usage of the battery without having to pay for it. Yeah. Okay? Which also means conversely that the company, this manufacturer, is taking a hit almost equivalent to the cost of the car. How much are they making per unit of the car? Okay. You see, so that model, so that model from an economic point of view, it does not work. If I am a, how do they call it, a short seller, and I hear that this is the company is available, I'm going to shut them massive. I'm like, these people are big or something. Okay, what works, and what people have been doing is, okay, so you will lease the battery. Okay, so meaning that maybe the battery, you know, is 16,000, but we are leasing the battery. So every month, maybe we pay $200. Okay, which means that you are spreading the cost of the battery over a certain time period for you. That works, but it is still a financial hit to the company. I hope you get what I'm saying. So whilst the company is trying to get people, you see, this logic, it was valid, I think, 10 years ago. Okay.
God.
Yes.
The company is selling a vehicle at $16,000. Doesn't mean they have not factored in their profit margin. So you ask how much is the company? No company will start a company without any profit or any profit gain in mind or something. Like, I just want to be a father Christmas. I just want to dole out my vehicle. So this Tesla. That's just to returning profit. So the issue is that 16,000. Cost of production could be less than 10,000. Are you getting?
Okay, so let's say that they're making 6,000 per car.
They are factored in. It doesn't matter. I don't have that figure. You get it, and I will not be able to go through that calculation. But what I'm saying is that swapping your battery for a fee, and when it's certain that, okay, you might consume the whole battery in, depending on how you, in less than a week. And I can make, because you see, your disposition, I mean, your conversation, everything you are thinking is saying that somebody could misuse that battery, you know, probably put fire on it, probably vandalize.
No. I'm not saying that, please. I beg you. I mean, that is just one aspect. Okay. but I think more that is a psychological aspect. I'm talking about from the user's perspective. But then
it's not so.
But you see, it is the economics that will either make or break the issue.
And doing by your you are Richie. I started that model, and that model will enforce, mass adoption better than, the cost of infrastructure of having superchargers is even more expensive than having swap stations.
But guess
It's
what?
just like
Guess what? Guess
for
what?
every car you make a pair of battery.
Is it? Guess what? Guess what? The supercharger, okay, when it is made, it can serve, I don't know how many cars per day. One store. All right. But a battery, once I swap it, it's one car, one battery. Do you know what I'm saying? So you see, it's a user scenario. You see, why do you think that Tesla, Tesla initially, that was their idea. The other idea of doing battery swaps. And they just have to get out of that. Okay? Because all these things were. Hello?
And all of that.
I can't hear you. Your line is bad.
Maybe it's time to end it. Can you?
Yeah. I think that we have to continue this conversation at a different time. We will schedule it as a topic. Okay. Yeah. I think we have to do this sometime.
It's been nice talking to you anyway. It's always time.
The conversation was about you. Hello? Hello?
I did. You can't hear me.
I can hear you now.
You cannot hear me again, right?
I can hear you now. But your video has stopped.
I said I did. You were doing me, Seth.
I am what? Hello? 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 Well, I think that the connection is bad, so